The unveiling. The detection. The silence in Galactic Monitoring Station Alpha 9 shattered when every alarm began screaming at once. Officer the Nix of the Zenthri species jumped from his rest pod, his 4 eyes widening as data flooded across dozens of holographic screens. The numbers made no sense. Energy readings from Sector 447, the outer rim where the primitive humans lived, showed power signatures that exceeded anything in the station's database. Phoenix's manipulator appendages moved frantically across the controls. He ran diagnostics 3 times. The equipment was functioning perfectly. The readings were real. Something in human territory had just generated enough energy to power the entire Galactic Council headquarters for a century, and it had done so in less than 3 seconds. Within minutes, the emergency protocols activated across Galaxy 7. From the crystal towers of the Matherian homeworld to the underwater cities of the Aquilon Empire, leaders received the same urgent message. Unknown technology detected. Potential threat level critical. Full council assembly required immediately. Overseer Crowthor materialized in the Grand Assembly Hall just as the other delegates began arriving through their various transport methods. Crowthor was old by Zenthri standards, having served the council for 280 years. His silver carapace bore the decorative markings of his high rank, and his presence commanded respect from the 67-member species of Galaxy 7. The hall itself was a marvel of engineering, a massive spherical chamber that could accommodate beings of vastly different biologies. The Zenthri breathed methane, the Draxians required high heat, and the crystalline Matherians existed in a state that most species could barely comprehend. Yet here they all gathered, united by concern over what the monitoring stations had detected. Crowthor activated the central display. The hologram showed the Sol system, humanity's home, marked in pulsing red. Around it, sensor data painted a picture that made even the most experienced delegates uncomfortable. The energy signature had originated from Mars, humanity's second planet, and it had appeared without warning. Commander Vexenar of the Draxian Armada spoke first, his reptilian features twisted in suspicion. Overseer, the humans achieved basic faster-than-light travel only 180 years ago. They barely understand quantum mechanics. How could they generate power on this scale? Before Crowthor could respond, Scientist Prime Quillix flickered into existence near the display. The Matherian being existed as a pattern of coherent light, their consciousness distributed across quantum fields. Commander Vexenar raises the correct question, Quillix said, their voice resonating through multiple dimensions simultaneously. I have analyzed the energy signature 17 times. It does not match any known power generation method. Not fusion, not antimatter annihilation, not even zero-point extraction. This is something entirely different. A murmur of unease spread through the assembled delegates. Galaxy 7 had existed for over 40,000 years. In that time, every major technological advancement had been catalogued, studied, and refined. The idea that the humans, a species barely out of their planetary cradle, had discovered something genuinely new was both fascinating and terrifying. Could it be a weapon? Asked Ambassador Theron of the Aquilon Empire, her gills fluttering with anxiety. Unknown, Crowthor replied. But we are about to find out. Our long-range sensors have detected a vessel approaching Council space. It originated from the same location as the energy signature. Estimated arrival time is 4 hours. Commander Vexenar's scales shifted to a darker red. 4 hours. Overseer, the Sol system is 6 weeks away from here at maximum faster-than-light speed. Nothing can cross that distance in 4 hours. Your sensors must be malfunctioning. Crowthor's 4 eyes fixed on the Draxian commander. I wish they were. But 3 separate monitoring stations have confirmed the contact. The vessel is real, and it is moving at speeds that should not be possible. We are tracking it continuously. Whatever the humans have built, it has fundamentally changed the rules of space travel. The chamber erupted in dozens of languages as delegates demanded answers, proposed theories, and voiced their fears. Crowthor let them talk for a moment before raising one of his primary appendages for silence. The vessel has identified itself. It carries a human diplomatic delegation. They are requesting permission to address the full council. And you will grant this permission? Vexenar asked, his tone dangerous. I already have, Crowthor replied calmly. Whether we like it or not, the humans have achieved something remarkable. We need to understand what they have done and what they intend to do with it. Fear and ignorance serve no one. The arrival. 4 hours later, every delegate in the Grand Assembly Hall stood at the observation windows, watching as the human vessel dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of council space. The ship that appeared before them defied every principle of design they knew. The vessel was massive, easily 3 times the size of a standard council cruiser. But its size was not what made the delegates stare in stunned silence. The ship's hull seemed to exist in a constant state of flux. Its surface rippled like water, reflecting starlight in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Energy readings fluctuated wildly between normal background levels and peaks that threatened to overload the station's sensors. By the ancient stars, whispered Quillix, their light form dimming with shock. The hull is oscillating between dimensional states. The ship is simultaneously existing in our space and somewhere else. This should not be possible. The energy required to maintain such a state would tear any vessel apart. The human ship glided toward the docking ring with impossible grace. As it approached, more details became visible. Strange geometric patterns covered its surface, glowing with soft blue light. The engines, if they could be called that, produced no visible exhaust or radiation. The vessel simply moved, as if the laws of physics were polite suggestions it chose to follow. Docking protocols that normally took hours were completed in minutes. The humans apparently had technology that could interface with council systems seamlessly, despite having completely different technical standards. This alone suggested a level of computational sophistication that most species took millennia to achieve. Crowthor waited in the main docking bay along with a security detachment of Draxian guards. Commander Vexenar had insisted on the military presence, and Crowthor had agreed. Not because he expected violence, but because the situation was unprecedented. Every protocol, every procedure, every assumption about galactic order was being challenged by what the humans had brought to their doorstep. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. The human delegation emerged, and Crowthor felt a moment of cognitive dissonance. They looked so ordinary. 2 males and 1 female, wearing simple dark uniforms with minimal decoration. No environmental suits, no exotic equipment, no obvious signs of the tremendous technological leap they represented. They walked with confidence but not arrogance, their faces showing curiosity rather than hostility. The human in front extended his hand in the traditional human greeting gesture. Overseer Crowthor, I presume. I am Ambassador Marcus Webb of the Terran Federation. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Crowthor extended one of his manipulator appendages, grasping Webb's hand carefully. The human's grip was firm but respectful. Ambassador Webb, your arrival has caused considerable concern throughout Galaxy 7. Your vessel employs technology we do not understand, and you crossed a distance that should have taken weeks in mere hours. My council demands explanations. Webb smiled, and there was something in that expression that reminded Crowthor of a predator showing its teeth. Not threatening, exactly, but a clear signal that this was not a species to be underestimated. Of course, Overseer. That is precisely why we are here. Humanity has made a breakthrough, and we believe it is time to share our achievement with the galactic community. The demonstration. The Grand Assembly Hall had never been so crowded. Every delegate had brought advisors, military observers, and scientific experts. The air, or various atmospheric mixtures depending on one's biological needs, practically crackled with tension. Ambassador Webb stood at the central podium, seemingly unconcerned by the hundreds of eyes, sensors, and perception organs focused on him. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Webb began, his voice clear and steady. For 180 years, humanity has been a member of the galactic community. We have learned much from you. Your mathematics, your physics, your understanding of the universe has helped us grow from a single-planet species to a civilization with colonies across our solar system. He paused, letting his words sink in. But humanity has always asked questions. When we were told that faster-than-light travel had fundamental limits, we asked why. When your scientists explained that the mathematics of spacetime contained immutable constants, we asked if those constants were truly immutable or simply limits we had chosen to accept. Commander Vexenar leaned forward, his claws scraping against his seat's armrest. You speak of limits as if they are mere suggestions, Ambassador. The laws of physics are not subject to opinion or willpower. They simply are. Webb turned to face the Draxian commander directly. With respect, Commander, the laws of physics describe what is possible within a given framework. Change the framework, and you change what is possible. Humanity did not break the laws of physics. We found a new framework to operate within. Quillix's light form pulsed with intense interest. You speak of your phase shift technology. Our sensors detected the dimensional oscillation of your vessel's hull. Please explain how this is achieved. Gladly, Webb replied. He gestured, and a holographic display appeared above the podium. It showed a simplified representation of spacetime as a fabric, the standard model used across Galaxy 7. Traditional faster-than-light travel works by compressing space in front of a vessel and expanding it behind, allowing the ship to surf the resulting wave. This method is effective but limited by how much energy you can generate and how severely you can warp spacetime without creating catastrophic effects. The hologram shifted, showing a vessel moving through normal space. Humanity took a different approach. We asked, what if instead of moving through space, we could temporarily step outside of it entirely? Not into hyperspace or subspace, but into a state where the normal rules of distance and velocity do not apply. The hologram now showed spacetime itself rippling, creating temporary gaps in the fabric of reality. We call it phase shift technology. By generating a specific pattern of gravitational waves combined with exotic matter fields, we can create what we call a reality anchor. This anchor exists simultaneously in normal space and in what we term null space, a realm outside conventional dimensions. Scientist Prime Quillix's light flickered rapidly, a sign of intense calculation. Impossible. The energy requirements would be astronomical. You would need to generate localized gravitational distortions equivalent to a neutron star while maintaining quantum coherence across dimensional boundaries. No civilization has achieved this. Webb's smile grew wider. No civilization has achieved it because no one truly tried. You all perfected the existing method and stopped innovating. Humanity did not have the luxury of complacency. We are located on the outer rim of Galaxy 7, far from the centers of trade and power. Using conventional faster-than-light drives, we would always be isolated, always dependent on others for our survival and growth. So we did what humans do best. We refused to accept our limitations. He gestured again, and the hologram showed the interior of a massive facility. On Mars, we built Project Starbreak. For 60 years, over 10,000 scientists and engineers worked in secret to solve the impossible problem. We developed new mathematics, new physics, new materials that could withstand forces that would vaporize ordinary matter. We failed thousands of times. Each failure taught us something new. Each setback made us more determined. The hologram showed a test vessel vanishing in a flash of blue light, then reappearing millions of kilometers away. 15 years ago, we achieved our first successful phase shift. A small probe traveled from Mars to Jupiter in 14 seconds. The journey that normally takes months with conventional drives was completed in the time it takes to draw a breath. The assembled delegates sat in stunned silence. Even Commander Vexenar seemed at a loss for words. The implications were staggering. If the humans could genuinely travel at such speeds, the entire balance of power in Galaxy 7 would shift overnight. The challenge. Commander Vexenar was the first to break the silence. He rose from his seat, his massive reptilian form towering over most other delegates. Ambassador Webb, you make extraordinary claims. But claims are not proof. The Draxian Armada has defended Galaxy 7 for 8,000 years. We do not accept revolutionary technologies based on pretty holograms and confident speeches. Demonstrate your capabilities under controlled conditions, or admit that this is an elaborate deception. Webb nodded as if he had been expecting this challenge. A reasonable request, Commander. What did you have in mind? Vexenar's smile revealed rows of serrated teeth. Simple. Have your vessel travel to the Kepler Nebula and return here. The nebula is located 47 light-years from this station. Using our fastest ships, the round trip takes approximately 3 weeks. If your phase shift technology is as remarkable as you claim, you should be able to complete the journey in a fraction of that time. An interesting test, Webb replied calmly. How long would you consider acceptable proof of our capabilities? If you can complete the round trip in less than 2 days, I will acknowledge that your technology represents a genuine advancement, Vexenar said. If you cannot, you will admit that humanity has overstated its achievements and withdraw these claims. Crowthor intervened before Webb could respond. Commander Vexenar, such a test could be dangerous. We do not fully understand the human technology. If something goes wrong during the demonstration, then we will know the technology is not as reliable as claimed, Vexenar interrupted. Overseer, you cannot seriously consider accepting humanity's word without verification. The security of Galaxy 7 demands that we know exactly what we are dealing with. Webb raised his hand for attention. Overseer Crowthor, I appreciate your concern for our safety. But Commander Vexenar is right. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. However, I propose a modification to his challenge. The round trip to Kepler Nebula and back in less than 2 days is far too generous. We will complete it in 6 hours. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted in multiple languages, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of sound, light and other sensory emissions. 6 hours to travel 94 light-years would require speeds that made conventional faster-than-light travel look like crawling. Vexenar's scales darkened to almost black, a sign of extreme agitation in his species. 6 hours. Impossible. You mock this council with such claims. Not a mock, Commander. A promise, Webb replied. His expression remained friendly, but his voice carried absolute conviction. My ship, the Horizon's Edge, will depart immediately. We will maintain an open communications channel throughout the journey so your sensors can track us continuously. We will collect physical samples from the Kepler Nebula as proof of arrival. And we will return here in 6 hours. If we fail, humanity will withdraw from Council consideration for advanced membership status. Crowthor looked at the human ambassador for a long moment. In all his 280 years of service, he had never encountered a species quite like humanity. They possessed the confidence of ancient civilizations but the innovative hunger of youth. They showed respect for established order while simultaneously challenging every assumption that order was built upon. Very well, Ambassador Webb, Crowthor said finally. Proceed with your demonstration. All Council monitoring stations will track your vessel. We will witness your phase shift technology firsthand. Webb bowed slightly. Thank you, Overseer. We will not disappoint you. The human delegation left the assembly hall and returned to their ship. Within minutes, the Horizon's Edge detached from the docking ring and moved to a safe distance from the station. Council sensor arrays focused on the vessel, recording every detail of what was about to happen. In the observation lounge, delegates crowded against the windows. Crowthor stood among them, his 4 eyes fixed on the human ship. Beside him, scientist Prime Quillix maintained a constant stream of calculations, trying to predict what was about to occur. All stations report ready, a technician announced. The human vessel is activating its drive systems. The horizon's edge began to glow. The rippling effect on its hull intensified, and the blue geometric patterns blazed with brilliant light. Energy readings climbed rapidly, far exceeding anything a conventional ship could produce. Space around the vessel began to distort, creating visible ripples in the fabric of reality. Then, in an instant that several species would later claim they perceived in slow motion, the horizon's edge simply ceased to exist. There was no explosion, no flash of light entering hyperspace, no gradual acceleration. One moment the ship was there, and the next moment it was not. The space where it had been immediately collapsed back to normal, creating a brief shockwave of gravitational distortion that made the entire station shudder. "By the ancient stars," Quillix whispered. It genuinely displaced itself outside of normal spacetime. The ship did not move in any direction we can measure. It stepped outside of reality itself. For the next 6 hours, the Grand Assembly Hall remained filled with anxious delegates. Every monitoring station in Council space watched for the horizon's edge to reappear. Long-range sensors focused on the Kepler Nebula, trying to detect any sign of the human vessel. 3 hours into the wait, a monitoring station near the nebula reported a brief energy spike consistent with the horizon's edge's signature. The ship had appeared, remained in the nebula for approximately 17 minutes, then vanished again. It was returning. Commander Vexenar paced the assembly floor like a caged predator. His military analysts had run countless simulations during the wait. Every scenario reached the same conclusion. If the humans could genuinely travel at these speeds, conventional military strategy became obsolete. You could not defend against an enemy that could appear anywhere in the galaxy within hours. 5 hours and 42 minutes after departure, space near the Council station began to ripple. Energy readings spiked. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist. Then, with the same sudden appearance that had marked its departure, the horizon's edge materialized exactly where it had vanished. The ship's communications channel opened immediately. Ambassador Webb's voice, calm and slightly amused, filled the assembly hall. Horizon's edge reporting successful completion of the challenge. Travel time to Kepler Nebula, 2 hours, 8 minutes. Time at destination, 17 minutes. Return travel time, 2 hours, 13 minutes. Total elapsed time, 5 hours, 42 minutes. We have collected the requested physical samples and are ready to deliver them for analysis. Crowthor felt something he rarely experienced. A sense that the universe had fundamentally changed in the span of a single day. The humans had not simply improved existing technology. They had revolutionized space travel itself. And this was only what they had chosen to reveal. Ambassador Webb, Crowthor said slowly, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I acknowledge that humanity has demonstrated capabilities far beyond what we believed possible. Please return to the station. We have much to discuss. As the human ship glided back toward the docking ring, Crowthor noticed that Commander Vexenar had stopped pacing. The Draxian commander stood motionless, staring at the horizon's edge with an expression that mixed awe with fear. For the first time in 8,000 years, the Draxian Armada had encountered something they could not defend against. The age of human dominance had not begun with conquest or war. It had begun with a simple demonstration of what was possible when a species refused to accept the word impossible. The revelation. The human achievement. Dr. Amara Okonkwo stood in the observation dome of Project Starbreak's main facility on Mars, watching the rust-colored landscape stretch toward the horizon. Behind her, the largest scientific research complex humanity had ever built hummed with constant activity. 60 years of work had led to this moment. 60 years of failures, breakthroughs, setbacks, and triumphs. Now, with Ambassador Webb demonstrating their technology to the Galactic Council, the secrecy could finally end. Reminiscing, Chief, asked Dr. David Chen, her longtime colleague and friend, as he approached with 2 cups of coffee. Amara accepted the cup gratefully. Thinking about how we got here. Do you remember the early days? When half the scientific community thought we were insane. Chen laughed. Only half. I remember at least 70% calling Project Starbreak a waste of resources. They said we should focus on improving conventional faster-than-light drives instead of chasing impossible theories. Amara sipped her coffee, the familiar bitter taste grounding her in the present moment. She was 67 years old now, having dedicated most of her adult life to solving a problem that every other civilization in Galaxy 7 had declared unsolvable. Her hair had gone completely gray, and her face bore the lines of countless sleepless nights. But her eyes still sparkled with the same fierce determination that had driven her from the beginning. "Tell me the story again," Chen said with a smile. "For old time's sake. How did a young engineer from Nigeria end up leading humanity's most ambitious project?" Amara smiled, remembering. "I was 22 when humanity made first contact with the Zenthari. I watched the news broadcasts showing their ships, their technology, their casual mastery of faster-than-light travel. Most people were excited about joining the galactic community. I was devastated." "Devastated?" Chen prompted, though he had heard this story many times. "Because I realized we were forever going to be second-rate," Amara explained. "The aliens had been perfecting their technology for thousands of years. We were using the same basic principles they used, just with inferior implementations. No matter how hard we worked, we would always be playing catch-up. We would never be innovators, only imitators." She gestured at the facility around them. "That night, I wrote a paper. It was probably the most arrogant thing I have ever done. I titled it, Beyond the Alcubierre Horizon, a Theoretical Framework for Dimensional Displacement. I argued that humanity's only chance to become genuinely significant in Galaxy 7 was to find a completely different approach to faster-than-light travel. And everyone thought you were crazy," Chen added. "Almost everyone," Amara corrected. "But Dr. Sarah Yamamoto at the Mars Research Institute saw something in my paper. She had been working on exotic matter generation and thought my theories might be compatible with her research. She brought me to Mars, gave me a lab, and told me to prove my ideas could work." The holographic display in the observation dome activated, showing historical footage from Project Starbreak's early years. A much younger Amara appeared in the recording, standing in front of a small experimental chamber. Her voice, filled with nervous excitement, echoed through the dome. "This is test number 247. We are attempting to generate a localized reality anchor using a modified gravitational wave generator combined with negative energy density fields. Predicted outcome, temporary dimensional displacement of the test mass by approximately 1 mm. The recording showed the chamber filling with blue light. Energy readings spiked. Then, suddenly, the test mass, a simple tungsten sphere, vanished. The entire research team stood frozen for a moment before erupting in chaotic celebration. 1 mm, Chen said softly. That first successful displacement was smaller than a grain of rice. But it proved the theory was sound. Amara nodded. After that, the real work began. We needed to scale up the technology by a factor of billions. We needed to find materials that could withstand the dimensional stress. We needed to solve the navigation problem, the power generation problem, the stability problem. Each solution created 3 new problems. The holographic display shifted, showing the construction of the first full-scale test facility. Thousands of workers and robots moved across the Martian surface, building structures that looked more like art installations than scientific equipment. Massive gravitational wave generators arranged in geometric patterns. Power plants that drew energy from quantum vacuum fluctuations. Computer systems running simulations so complex that they required the processing power of humanity's entire network. We failed so many times, Amara continued, her voice heavy with memory. Test 1439 created a dimensional rift that nearly destroyed the entire facility. Test 2856 successfully displaced a probe but couldn't bring it back. It is still lost somewhere in null space. Test 4003 worked perfectly, but the probe materialized inside a solid asteroid when it returned. Chen placed a hand on her shoulder. But you never gave up. When the funding committees questioned the project's viability, you convinced them to continue. When other scientists claimed the mathematics was fundamentally flawed, you proved them wrong. When accidents killed people. 17 researchers lost their lives in accidents during Project Starbreak, Amara said quietly. I remember every name. Sarah Yamamoto, who gave me my start, was one of them. She died in the dimensional rift accident during test 1439. Her last words were, keep going. So we did. The holographic display now showed the construction of the first Terran-class phase-shift vessel. Unlike conventional ships, it had been built in orbit around Mars, too large and complex to be constructed on any planetary surface. The hull incorporated materials that did not exist in nature, exotic matter stabilized through quantum locking techniques. The reality anchor system filled the ship's entire core, a sphere of impossible geometry that hurt to look at directly. I will never forget the day we activated the Pathfinder, Amara said. Our first full-scale manned test. Captain Rodriguez volunteered to pilot it. The destination was Jupiter, approximately 50 light-minutes away using conventional measurements. We estimated the phase-shift journey would take 30 seconds. She paused, and Chen could see tears forming in her eyes. The Pathfinder vanished on schedule. Then we waited. 30 seconds passed. Then a minute. Then 10 minutes. We thought we had lost them. That we had sent an entire crew to their deaths in some unreachable dimension. But they came back, Chen said gently. They came back, Amara confirmed. 14 seconds after departure. Not 30 seconds as we predicted, but 14. They had traveled to Jupiter, orbited it twice to confirm their location, and returned. Captain Rodriguez's first words were, Mars Control, we can see your coffee cups are still steaming. This is going to change everything. The holographic display showed celebration footage. Scientists and engineers embracing, crying, laughing with relief and triumph. In the center of it all stood a younger Amara, looking stunned by what they had achieved. After that, development accelerated exponentially, Chen said, picking up the narrative. Once we knew the basic system worked, we could refine it. The second-generation ships could travel 10 times farther. The third generation added the hull oscillation that makes our vessels nearly impossible to detect or target. By the sixth generation, we had vessels that could cross the entire galaxy in days. Amara moved to a different section of the dome, where real-time displays showed the current status of humanity's phase-shift fleet. Dozens of ships appeared on the monitors, spread across human space in elaborate patrol patterns. Each vessel represented years of development, billions of credits in resources, and the collective genius of humanity's finest minds. The Galactic Council thinks the Horizon's Edge is impressive, Amara said with a slight smile. They have no idea that it is actually one of our older designs. The seventh-generation vessels are twice as fast and 3 times more capable. And the 8th generation is classified, Chen interrupted with a grin. Even from me, apparently. Especially from you, Amara replied, her smile widening. You talk in your sleep, David. We cannot have you revealing secrets to your wife. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the status displays. After a moment, Chen spoke again. Do you think the council will accept us? Really accept us as equals? Amara considered the question carefully. The council has maintained the same power structure for tens of thousands of years. The same species dominate trade, military power, and political influence. They perfected their technologies and stopped innovating because there was no reason to change. Now humanity arrives, barely 200 years into galactic civilization, and we have technology that makes their fleets obsolete. Some will see opportunity in this. Others will see only threat. And if they choose to see us as a threat? Chen asked. Then they will learn why threatening humanity is a poor decision, Amara replied calmly. We did not develop phase shift technology to conquer or dominate. But we also did not develop it to remain vulnerable. Every Terran-class vessel carries defensive and offensive capabilities that conventional ships cannot match. If forced to defend ourselves, we will do so effectively. A communication alert interrupted their conversation. Amara activated the display, and Ambassador Webb's face appeared. He was still aboard the Horizon's Edge, which had just returned to Council space after its demonstration. Dr. Okonkwo, Webb said, his expression serious. The demonstration was successful beyond our expectations. The Council is in emergency session. They will make a formal decision about humanity's status within the next few hours. But I wanted you to know, this moment belongs to you and your team. Everything that happens from here forward is built on the foundation you created. Amara felt emotion welling up in her chest. Thank you, Marcus. But this was never about one person. Thousands of people contributed to Project Starbreak. We succeeded because we worked together, believed in something larger than ourselves, and refused to accept that impossible meant forever. Webb nodded. Well said. I will contact you again once the Council has made their decision. Webb out. The display deactivated. Amara turned back to the observation dome's windows, looking out at the Martian landscape where humanity had achieved the impossible. Somewhere out there, in the vast expanse of Galaxy 7, the future was being decided. But regardless of what the Council chose, humanity had already won the most important victory. They had proven that innovation, determination, and the courage to question accepted limits could overcome obstacles that had stopped every other civilization. Come on, Chen said, breaking the moment. The team is gathering in the main lab. They want to celebrate with you. As Amara followed her colleague through the corridors of Project Starbreak, she thought about the journey that had brought them here. From that first paper written by a young Nigerian engineer to starships that could traverse the galaxy in days. From a species barely learning to travel between planets to a civilization that had revolutionized the very concept of space travel. The future was uncertain. The Galactic Council's decision could lead to partnership or conflict. But whatever came next, humanity would face it with the same qualities that had made Project Starbreak successful. Creativity, determination, and the fundamental human belief that tomorrow could always be better than today if you were willing to work for it. The fleet revealed. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had stretched for 3 hours. Ambassador Webb stood patiently at the central podium while delegates argued, proposed, and debated. The demonstration had proven humanity's technological capabilities beyond any doubt. Now the Council faced a decision that would reshape the political landscape of Galaxy 7. Overseer Crowthor finally called for order. Ambassador Webb, the Council appreciates your patience during our deliberations. Before we proceed to a formal vote on humanity's petition for advanced membership status, several delegates have additional questions. Of course, Overseer, Webb replied. I am here to provide whatever information the Council requires. Commander Vexenar rose from his seat, his posture aggressive. Ambassador, you have demonstrated that humanity possesses one remarkable vessel. The Horizon's Edge is impressive, but a single ship does not alter the balance of power in Galaxy 7. What resources can humanity truly contribute to the galactic community? Webb's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. Commander, I appreciate your directness. You are correct that one ship alone does not represent significant power. That is why I should clarify something. The Horizon's Edge is not humanity's only phase-shift vessel. It is simply the one we chose to send as our diplomatic representative. A murmur ran through the assembled delegates. Scientist Prime Quilix's light form pulsed rapidly. How many vessels has humanity constructed, Ambassador? Webb gestured, and a new holographic display materialized above the podium. It showed a star map of human space, with dozens of blue indicators scattered throughout the region. As of this morning, the Terran Federation operates 75 phase-shift capable vessels. They range from small scout ships to heavy cruisers. Each one incorporates the same reality anchor technology demonstrated by the Horizon's Edge. The chamber exploded in chaos. Delegates shouted in multiple languages, their reactions ranging from shock to outrage to fear. Commander Vexenar looked as if he might leap from his seat and attack the human ambassador directly. Kralthor pounded his manipulator appendages against the podium, demanding silence. When order was finally restored, he fixed Webb with an intense stare from all four eyes. Ambassador, you allowed us to believe the Horizon's Edge was unique. You deliberately withheld information from this council. With respect, Overseer, I did not withhold information, Webb replied calmly. You never asked about our fleet composition. You asked for a demonstration of our capabilities, which we provided. But I understand your concern. The sudden revelation of 75 advanced vessels naturally raises questions about our intentions. He expanded the holographic display. Each blue indicator now showed detailed specifications of the vessel it represented. Let me be completely transparent. The Terran fleet consists of several classes of phase-shift vessels. Our scout ships, the Aurora class, are designed for exploration and rapid response. They carry minimal weapons and focus on speed and sensor capabilities. Our diplomatic vessels, like the Horizon's Edge, are built for comfort and communication. And yes, we have military vessels designed for defense and security operations. Military vessels, repeated Commander Vexenar, his voice dangerous. How powerful are these military vessels, Ambassador? Webb met the Draxian commander's gaze steadily. Powerful enough to defend human interests if necessary. The Sentinel-class cruisers carry weapons systems that leverage phase-shift technology in ways I am not prepared to detail publicly. But I can tell you that in simulation tests, a single Sentinel-class vessel proved capable of defending against a fleet of 20 conventional warships. The implications of that statement hung in the air like a physical weight. The Draxian Armada, the most powerful military force in Galaxy 7, fielded approximately 300 warships.